What's up? I'm Brianna Ivy, and this is the Hear from a Student podcast. Cool. What's up, Kate?
Hello, hello.
How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Happy Thursday. We're almost to the weekend,
So close.
and that's what it's all about. So, take me back. Let's start with high school Kate. Okay, you're in senior year and you got to figure out what you want to do with the next 4 years of your life. How did you decide what you wanted to study in college?
Yeah, so my path towards engineering was a little bit different. I originally thought I wanted to be a pediatrician, and I kind of wanted a major to kind of set myself apart. A lot of people major in biology or something similar. So I kind of talked to an advisor, and she said, "You're pretty good at math, pretty good at science. Why don't you think about engineering? Set you apart." So I looked into a couple different programs, and thought it would be really cool, especially the field of biomedical engineering, because you kind of get to combine those interests.
Yeah.
So I kind of narrowed down on that, went and toured some schools, and then kind of fell in love with engineering after I started school, and then kind of dropped the pre-med of it all.
Okay. And you went to Marquette, right?
Yes.
And was Marquette like your top choice, or did you have a list and you were just like marking things off your list, or how did you end up at Marquette?
Yeah, so I originally toured the University of Wisconsin-Madison because I'm from Central Illinois, wanted something a little different than U of I, where everyone goes. So I visited Wisconsin and really enjoyed it, but it was really, really big. And Marquette has the benefit of being about 8,000 to 9,000 undergrad, and then in your biomedical specific major, only about 100 people.
Yeah.
And then that even gets further broken up as you go on. So I really liked the class sizes. I really liked like how close everything was. You can get end to end in campus within about 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, super. I mean, there's the snow, but
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. I can't think of on Tech's campus, walking anywhere was at least 15 minutes, at least to get from East Campus to West Campus. So it must have been nice to be like 10 minutes. I got this.
Yeah, very close. Well, and the way it's split up, like there's like a road that goes down the middle and all the academics on one side. So you don't even really have to cross roads too, which is
Wow. I can't
Yeah.
count the number of streets I had to cross to get from
Yeah.
West to East Campus. So when you started studying biomedical at Marquette, I'm sure there were like a lot of topics, but did you have like any favorite topics in biomedical engineering, or ones that stood out to you the most?
Yeah, so when I started, I felt very overwhelmed when I started because I felt like so many people had probably taken like STEM related classes in high school, and I had just taken the basics,
Yeah.
like, AP bio kind of stuff like that, physics. So I was really overwhelmed and was doubting my place in engineering until we started the circuits chapter of physics, which is something my physics never got to in high school, and really enjoyed it, really liked the labs that went along with that. And I think that's kind of where I started to find my groove and narrowed my focus down.
Yeah.
So really enjoyed like that learning experience, and kind of like learning that it's okay to be uncomfortable. Like a lot of people don't know what's going on. So like you don't have to feel intimidated that everyone took all these STEM classes, because most people I talked to never did in high school.
Same, never did. Then I got to Tech and I was like, oh wow, this is this is different.
Yep. No, it's easy to go in thinking everyone's like going to know how to code and you're going to be the only one. But in my experience, it was definitely more the other way around.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite class?
Freshman year, probably Marquette does an introduction to biomedical engineering like class for all biomed freshmen.
Okay.
Because Marquette breaks down biomedical engineering into 3 different subgroups, so mechanical, electrical, or computer. So that class to like help you figure that out.
Yeah.
So really liked that one because it showed like that's the class where I learned that no one knows how to be an engineer yet.
Right.
So that one was cool. Got to do a bunch of like ECG labs, like learned about algorithms. We got to make like phantoms for X-ray. So yeah, that was very cool. But in terms of regular gen eds, I really liked my physics class because it was like more hands-on than my high school class.
Yeah. Oh, physics. Did not enjoy that. Physics 1 or 2. I took physics 2 and I was like, maybe I shouldn't be an electrical engineer because I didn't really enjoy that. But then the engineering classes were much better. Yep. So I'm glad for that. Did you have a favorite project that you worked on?
That's a good one. So my senior, so that didn't come my favorite project. I think kind of changed year to year. Like every year I would get a favorite one. But this last year of college, we, in my like final bioelectronics like circuit lab class, we had this like culminating project. And so basically we learned how to build a circuit from scratch that read in an ECG like signal from your arm, filtered it out, and got the envelope of it. And like you could use that then to control some servo motors, like by how you clenched your muscles.
Yeah.
So I think that was cool to like go from like a completely empty circuit board to like getting the signal from my arm, filtering it myself. And like we had to fully design it ourselves, come up with all the frequency like cutoffs. So I think doing that and then like seeing that it actually worked and that I could make it was like kind of like a cool moment that like showed like I did learn something in these 4 years. Like I learned a lot actually.
Yeah.
You learn it so slow, sometimes it doesn't feel like you've really learned that much, but being able to apply it, I think was definitely like my favorite like capstone thing I did.
Yeah, I love the classes where you get to build something at the end and like see all of the the pain that you went through in the class is actually meaningful and you actually learn something. Those are always my favorite classes.
Well, and like with COVID, with my class, we didn't get very much hands-on lab experience more junior year. So a lot of us coming into senior year electrical engineers, like, yeah, we've used an oscilloscope a couple times. It was good to like know like, okay, I can't build a circuit.
Yeah.
So labs, although they can be brutal, like really help gain your confidence, I think.
Yeah. You mentioned that Marquette breaks biomedical engineering into 3 subgroups: mechanical, computer, and electrical. I kind of see mechanical more like the structure of a thing, probably. So what's like the biggest difference between the subgroup of electrical and computer?
Yeah, so the computing students, we always kind of like, I guess the electricals, we always kind of like made, like every group makes fun of the other group.
Yeah.
We kind of made fun of them because we said at the end that they didn't even really know how to like build a circuit. Because like they spent their whole time like just coding. I think they had a couple like modules in their labs where they would like feed that in with Arduino and kind of do some microcontroller work. But they never really went in as depth as like with amplification, filtering, like all of that like hardcore nitty gritty electrical work.
Yeah.
They're much more just like interacting with the parts kind of microcontroller.
Yeah.
So if you're more interested in like the physical hardware, but you still like coding, electrical I think is a great fit because you get to do that, but still kind of get the coding aspect.
Yeah.
If like hardware is not for you, then I think coding's perfect because I don't think you normally have to super touch it.
Yeah, that's pretty, I think that's pretty accurate. All the computer engineers, let me not say all, most of the computer engineers that I know were super like coding heavy. And like you said, we also used to pick on the other group, like, you know, we had like the multidisciplinary projects, and it's like all the electrical engineers on the team will always just do like circuitry, and all the computers and the CS students would just work on the code together. So nice to know Tech's not the only place like that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to hear like other perspectives too, because I always kind of wondered if that was just a Marquette thing.
Yeah, no, those Tech students, some of them do like the circuit stuff, but most of them do like hardcore coding.
Yeah, like they know several coding languages coming out, and Marquette really only teaches you C unless you're like a computer.
Yeah. So what do you think was your favorite thing about studying biomedical and your least favorite thing?
So one of my like, it's kind of a like favorite and least favorite at the same time, but the field of biomedical engineering I think can be like extremely broad. So it's something I really liked because I feel like I got to like learn a lot about a bunch of different things, especially we didn't focus in that much until like our second year.
Yeah.
And so that kind of led me to feeling kind of insecure in some like internships or like even moving into my full-time role, because I was like, the people that studied like fully electrical engineering probably know more than me who studied biomedical with a focus on electrical. So I think that was kind of is still something I think I kind of work on today, is like having like confidence in my abilities and like know that I bring other things, like I bring more medical knowledge, more like physiology knowledge than some people would.
Yeah.
It's also one of my favorite things because we got to learn so much. So it's definitely, I think, like a favorite and the least favorite. I don't know if that was your experience too.
Well, no, not in that way.
Okay.
Because I was just electrical, but when I would take a lot of my elective classes, I catered towards like biomedical courses, so like biomedical instrumentation and electrophysiology. And in those classes, when I was with other biomedical engineers, I was like, oh, I'm way over my head. I don't know any of the physiology or like the human body parts. I just like the circuit parts. So in that way, I was like, oh, I don't know about this, but it was fun. I got to learn, and those became some of my favorite classes. So I do get that part.
Yeah, I think every group kind of feels that way. I think no matter what you pick, you always kind of like feel like someone else might know more than you, but you have to like, that's something I'm working on, is remembering like I bring my own unique thing.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one of my questions, but you kind of touched on, you know, your knowledge about the body, your knowledge about physiology, which if we're in a room together, you got me beat, because I took like 2 classes. And even then at the end, I was like, I know enough to say I passed the class, you know? Yeah. So, did you have any misconceptions about biomedical engineering prior to like getting into the coursework, or things that you wish somebody would have told you?
I think I wish I would have heard more, is to kind of like, is not every grade is make or break. I put a ton of pressure on myself the entire time to like that every grade mattered. Like I emailed professors constantly about like points back on stuff. Like I just was very hardcore about it. And I wish that I kind of would have just settled back a little bit.
Yeah.
And not focus just so heavily on it. Like it was great because like it did pay off when I got the grade, but sometimes I'm not sure if the grade was worth the level of like stress and anxiety I put into it. So I think like finding that balance for yourself of like where you can kind of draw the line and have a better like work school balance or work life balance. Yeah. Because in engineering, that is kind of a misconception that can be true, is that you have no free time.
Yeah.
So if you draw that line and you're hard with yourself on it, it's definitely possible to enjoy college while still.
Yeah, that is true. I wish somebody would have told me that too, because freshman year, Brianna,
yeah,
much different from senior year, but freshman year, I was just like, I must make this A must be at the end of the semester.
I was spending like hours at the library like the first couple months, and everyone was like, it's freshman year. Like, what are you
right.
But
yeah. It was never really that deep, because it was always okay in the end. And that's the kicker. It's always going to be okay at the end.
Yeah. Well, I remember at graduation, I sat next to a girl who was checking her grades to see if she passed her like finals graduation. Yes. And she passed and walked across the stage with a much lower GPA than I did. And she was saying like, oh, like, that's so good for you that you got such like a great grade. And I was like, but it doesn't super matter. Like we're both across the stage getting the same diploma. So I think like just kind of keeping that in perspective, like, yeah, you want to do good for yourself and aim as high as you can, but like don't kill yourself over it, because in the end you're gonna
Exactly. I wish someone would have told me that. And electrical engineering specifically, I wish someone would have told me, I guess, first of all, I didn't know the difference between computer and electrical, and I wish somebody had told me that prior to going in, because I just was very confused. So I wish somebody would have talked to me about that a little bit more. But I also think that I learned that electrical engineering is also very broad, and you kind of have to explore what it is within it that you like, because you can go the more coding route, or you can go the more hardware circuit route. You can go analog, you can go digital. So I feel like everybody should go in to whatever major, understanding that they're going to have to explore what it is they like, and you might not like everything about it. I think that was a big thing for me too.
Yeah, definitely. There's some classes you take and you're just like, this is not for me. I'm excited, like I will do it now, but I will never touch this topic again.
Exactly.
And some classes you think you're going to hate and you end up really loving. So I think the exploring is a big part of it.
Yeah. Is there a skill that you gained that you think is just super valuable and you use it? Maybe you don't use it all the time, but you use it enough to be like, I'm glad I studied biomedical engineering because I'm able to apply this quite often.
It's like a bio specific type one.
It doesn't have to be.
Okay, I would say I kind of think it too. I think just like skill in general is just learning like how to push through like just like not like extreme adversity. I wouldn't say it's like that, but like there's like times where you're like working on your circuit in the lab and you're like, this is never gonna work. Like this is terrible, and like you push through it and it eventually works, and then it's like the best feeling in the world because you just feel so smart. So like those moments kind of like make it. And I think that's a skill to like carry on, is like just push through it, like it will work out.
Yes.
Yeah, but biomedical, like especially, I think learning like how to like kind of see the whole picture is kind of something that major kind of taught me, because not only are you focused on the tech, but you have to be focused on how it interacts with the body and how all of that kind of like works together, and like how the materials can't be something that hurts the body, or it can't be like this certain voltage because then it could hurt the person. So I think like being able to zoom out and look big picture and see like how your product affects somebody is something that biomedical engineering puts like a real focus on, because like products are like life and death. And like if you are like coding a piece of software that like tracks calories for food, like it's not as like direct. So I think like thinking back and like kind of seeing how what you do affects everything is a good skill that Biomed taught me.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing about biomedical engineering is that it is one of the few that directly sees end user and thinks about end user. Like as an electrical engineer, I don't directly think, I wonder how this material is going to interact with the body. My thought is more like, okay, what is the breakdown voltage of said material? Like if we put too much voltage across this, does everything go boom? But not necessarily in relation to the end user or the person on the other side. So I do really think that that's interesting, because a lot of other majors don't really think about it that deeply. So, okay, we're going to pivot a little bit, and we're going to go to some questions that might make you use your imagination just a little bit more. Okay.
All right.
If you could pick a skill from any other major, what would it be and why? And it doesn't have to be a STEM major.
I think something that I especially want to keep working on, like as I enter early career, is just like my ability to kind of like present information well, and kind of just like have like good rapport with like a crowd. Like, you know how like some people just give presentations and like they're just so engaged with the crowd and like funny, and like it's just such a lively presentation. I feel like that's not something engineering like super focuses on. We focus on like just driving the information home, be concise. And I think like learning how to like kind of have comfort in front of a crowd and be able to like have good rapport and just like a memorable presentation that's not only informative, but also is like just interesting and engaging, I think is something that I would definitely love to improve upon.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about how we do the numbers, we crunch the numbers, but then when it comes time to communicate to other people what those numbers mean and why they're important in an engaging way is something that I think probably, I'll speak for myself, I could improve upon, but probably in general, a lot of engineering students could improve upon, because we put our head down, we do the numbers, it makes sense, it works. And then it's like, okay, now tell the rest of everybody else what you just did and why. So
yeah, it's the stereotype.
It really is.
Not being able to communicate. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yes. Let's see. You kind of touched on this, but if you don't have a different answer, then we can skip it. But what is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to someone studying your major?
So I give another piece of advice, but it would be to do your stuff ahead of time. Definitely. Like there's so many like times that I've like given myself, like I'll be writing a lab report and I'll be like, oh, like this was wrong, and I have time to go back and grab more data. Whereas like my classmates that are doing it like hours before wouldn't. So I think being proactive and just like getting things done ahead of time, or at least like starting and just not pushing myself up to the like wire is something that like made my engineering experience, I think, a lot less stressful.
Yeah. Procrastination gets us all, really. I feel like I would like to meet the person that truly mastered their procrastination. I know.
There's times where it creeps in, but as long as you like, I feel like overall keep it at bay, it's okay. You can procrastinate a thing or two, but yeah, leaving like full lab reports until the night before is not an enjoyable thing.
In 10 seconds or less, it doesn't have to be 10-ish.
Okay.
Why should somebody study biomedical engineering?
I think with biomedical engineering, you have the opportunity to make direct impacts on people that can make their lives better. And you get to touch so many people because you make products that go out to the masses. That's kind of my like take on it.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. That was 10 seconds. I don't think I've taught anybody that did in 10 seconds yet. So kudos to you. If we had an award,
I was gonna keep going, and then I was like, I'm probably a 10.
Kind of along those same lines, you might bleed the answer to your previous question might bleed over into this one. How would you define a biomedical engineer?
I think it's someone that, kind of what we talked about earlier, but is able to look at the whole picture and cares not only about the technology they're making, but the person and the reason they're making it for. Because I think your reason's important when it's other fields of engineering, but I think when there's like a human aspect to it and like saving someone's life or like helping them diagnose a problem, I think that element becomes much more real.
Yeah, that's good. Man, you did good with those.
Thank you.
So, Kate, the biomedical engineer, if you could replace any fictional character inside of their universe, who would you choose?
This is going to be embarrassing. My Harry Potter nerd's going to come out. Hermione Granger, of course.
Wow, that's a good one.
They had the movies going like all day on Labor Day, so I kind of hit a couple of them in there again and kind of remembered that series. But yeah, I mean, you got to go Harry Potter.
That's a good one. What's your favorite Harry Potter movie?
Ooh, I really like Goblet of Fire. I'm kind of a sucker for that one because it's fun. You get all the people from the different like schools, but I think like in terms of that I like the Sorcerer's Stone because it's the first one too. So I think if I was gonna pick two to watch, it would be like Goblet of Fire and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Okay. If you were a wizard, what's the first thing you would do?
I think teleportation would be awesome. I'm not a big like driver. I hate like just like traffic and just like waiting for like I could just like pop home and grab something. Like could pop over to Europe real quick. Like I teleport 100%.
That's a good one. Oh yes. Thinking about the traffic, I would definitely teleport.
What about you? What's yours?
Who I would replace?
Yeah.
Ooh, no one's ever flipped the script.
On you.
I normally always go Iron Man.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
But I'm gonna think of a different one because I feel like there's better. Not that I love Iron Man. He's the reason I'm an engineer, but also I feel like I should think deeper about this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get back to you. But off the top, it's always Iron Man because it's like the suit, I can fly.
I know Marvel's just not as fun anymore without him.
Let's move on.
I know.
Really quickly. Okay, so you've since graduated. Congratulations. It is really a milestone to be celebrated. And now you work at GE Healthcare. What is your current role and what does your day-to-day look like?
So I'm currently working as a wireless network engineer, which is quite a little bit different than what I studied in school. So it's been, I think, really a good change and something like I get to continuously learn every day. So basically what I do is we have this wireless product and I kind of help make sure that since it's wireless and has patient information, it can move around the hospital effectively without losing like touch with the Wi-Fi or anything like that. So my day-to-day life kind of varies, but I usually, I get to work in person, which I'm really fortunate to.
Yeah.
But I normally go in, I normally meet with my boss, and sometimes we perform these things called roaming tests, where you get to walk around and gather data about like how well the device connects to different areas around the room. We then normally like get to analyze that. I've written some scripts that like we can kind of like parse through it really quickly. Make some graphs, and then kind of the other side of my job is that we have like a place where we can set the devices and just test them without carrying them. So writing scripts to like automate testing is kind of a big part of what I'm doing now.
That's cool. Let me ask you this, because I know even as an electrical engineer, when I graduated, I knew I wanted to work for a healthcare technology company. So, and I know that you're biomedical. So was it your goal to work for a healthcare technology company? Or you were just like, I just want to explore for the first couple of years of my career?
No, my job is definitely to work like for a healthcare reason, because when I kind of changed off that pediatrician route I talked earlier, my goal was to make medical devices, and like, because I thought I could help more people by making devices than I could as a single doctor, because my devices hopefully could touch more people. So my goal's always been to get into a very like healthcare driven company. And I was fortunate enough to get in with GE for a couple internships, then get a role here full time. So definitely that's always been my goal, and I've been very fortunate to be able to have that input.
Yeah, you mentioned internships and you've had a couple. Was there one that was your favorite or that stood out the most or had the coolest project?
Yeah, so I got to work in the MR area of GE last year, which was very cool. Yeah, very fun. And I got to work on coils, which are what they lay on top of you when you get an MR scan, and they help collect the signal that comes off your body. So that was cool. Once again, an entirely new area of tech. Like in biomed, they teach you what an MR is.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep, it's safe, it's radio waves, you're all good. And that's basically all you learn. So getting to like learn a lot more about how the physics of that work and how just it's a very cool, very sophisticated technology.
Yeah, it really is. I'm on the MR team, and the first week I got like this what's it called? A PowerPoint that was like, you should go read these links about MR and the physics behind it. I really tried my best, but
it is some physics.
it is really some complicated stuff going on. But it's really cool that we get to like work on that and improve the technology that goes with such a complicated and sophisticated system. So
yeah.
Yes. Is there a skill, like a hard skill or a soft skill that you learn in school that you use often at work?
I think we kind of touched on this earlier, but like say being able to condense technical information, I think is something that's really important that my capstone class I kind of touched on earlier, all of our lab reports had to be 7 pages, like maximum with all graphs and everything in like scientific writing. Yes. So like you would take off if sentences were too long, you're not concise enough. So I think that was a really good technical skill, because when your boss walks over to your desk and is like, what have you been working on today? They don't want like an entire book about everything they've done. They kind of want the short story. So I think condensing technical information is something super important.
Yeah, that is. Yes. I'm just thinking about how I hated documentation and lab reports, but now in this real world setting, it is so important because I could really use some better documentation on all the things that I'm having to learn right now.
Yep.
It takes me back to my junior design professor, how much he just hammered away at the importance of documentation and how hard he graded our reports and documents. And I was like, this man is crazy. But now I'm like, this guy's a genius.
No, it's easy to tune him out and be like, yeah, documenting is important. But when it comes time to do it, you're like, oh, documenting is important.
So important. Okay, we're going to get into the last round of questions, which I like to call the lightning round pop quiz. Okay. Oh. So I'm going to give you this or that statements, and you just respond with whatever answer resonates most to your soul. Okay. Would you rather do a project or a homework assignment?
Homework assignment.
Wow. Okay. Would you rather do a final project or a final exam?
Final exam. My answers are probably not normal. Yeah.
This is interesting. And if it wasn't a lightning round, I would stop and ask you questions, but I'm gonna keep going. Would you rather do a group project or a solo project?
Solo project, but I'm working on liking group projects more.
Okay. Would you rather have a meal plan or cook your own food?
Cook my own food.
Okay. Would you rather ask a professor for help or a TA for help?
Professor.
Okay. Internships or co-ops?
Internships.
Okay. Fall semester or spring semester?
Fall semester.
Roommates or no roommates?
No roommates.
Last question. Would you rather have 8 a.m.s Monday through Thursday or 5 to 8 labs on Friday?
I'll do 8 a.m.s.
Really?
Yeah, I'm an early bird.
Me too, but you know, another thing college taught me is that 8 a.m. is very different. 8 a.m. for work, 8 a.m. for college, and 8 a.m. in high school are very different times. I know they're the same, but it is a very different life.
Yeah, it matters the energy the professor brings as well. Because if you have a boring 8 a.m., it is hard.
Oh gosh. I think my linear algebra class was either 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. It was 8 a.m. because I remember having to walk across campus, up and down the hill, up and down the steps. And the professor was fine, but the content was way too complicated to be trying to wake my brain up to learn at 8 a.m. Oh, what a time. But it's okay because we made it and we graduated.
We're through.
Yes. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add? Anything else that you wish you would have known? Anything else that you think is valuable for a student that wants to study STEM to know?
The only thing I can say is if you're worried that you're going to be the person that doesn't know enough, like don't be. Like have faith in yourself, go for it. Like there are so many people there that don't know what's going on. Like don't be afraid that you're going to be the only one and everyone knows how to code. Like you will be fine. You will figure it out. Like you can do it. Because that's something I wish someone would have told me.
Yes, and I second that because freshman year, I really didn't know anything. But I look back when I was a senior, I remember looking back over like my time at Tech and thinking, wow, I learned so much. And it was okay that I did not know 4 years ago.
Yeah, it creeps up on you how much you learn. You like don't realize how much like you have learned until you reflect and you're like, wow, I know a lot now.
Right. And now somebody's paying me for what I know.
That's
crazy. Yes. All right, Kate. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much. See ya.